really ignore. Some of us might recognize this thing. It's this inconvenient box that pops up when we're doing the installation. We don't read anything, we click the thing in the corner, we click next, and we just proceed, right? Whether we've paid for it or not. So what free and open source software does, it presents an alternative way of sharing software and knowledge generally. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So free and open source software refers to two different kinds of movements. Free software refers to software which is shared with a license, which allows 4 freedoms. Freedom 0 is the freedom you have to run the software in any environment, in any country, and for any purpose to which you choose, right? The second freedom is that you have the freedom to study the software. So that means you have to have access to the source code. But not only access to the source code, you should probably also have some access to documentation. Because as we know, our source code is so horribly written that we never want anybody else to look at it, right? Yeah, we have variables like A1, A2, A3, and that kind of shit, right? Right. So we have the freedom also, and the freedom number 3, and Richard Stallman, who designed this, says that you have the freedom to share the software to help your neighbor. And that's actually written in the definition, right? So you are allowed to share. It's not considered piracy, it's not considered stealing or anything. You're allowed to share. And the 4th freedom is that you have the freedom to improve on the software, so you can add your own modules and you can redistribute on the anyway. You have the freedom, you can charge for the redistribution, or you could redistribute to the same license. So those are the 4 freedoms in free software. And then there is the open source software. This was developed by the Open Source Initiative. And they put what some people say are more restrictions, but it's just basically contributing to the idea that you must make the source code available. The derived works must be covered by a similar license, so that if I take open source software, I make some amendments, when I redistribute the software, I also have to make that as open source. In other words, I don't just benefit, I give back, right? There's no discrimination against users, there's no discrimination against fields of endeavor. The license must be technology neutral. It must not be specific to a product. It must not be restricted on the software. So there's some very key things here. Some of us know, for example, you might hear about software which could only be run on particular kinds of architecture and all kinds of things, right? So it's important to know that it's a movement that's been around a while. So I usually say it's free and open source software. And it governs some old technologies and it's also involved in some emerging technologies. Free, as remember, it means those 4 freedoms. It does not always mean free of cost, because you can put a cost to the software still if you want. In some free and open source software, a lot of it is quite free as in money, free as in cost, but not all of it, especially when they're developed by universities and governments. In other words, when public funds are used to develop some of the software, the people who develop it said if it's a public funds used, you should allow it to go back to the public, right? We must also remember too that in Guyana, I found when people keep talking about free open source software and free software, that they're really talking about free as in money software. And not all free as in money software is free open source, right? And not because it has this thing, click here, download free, and use it means that it is following this model, right? And you have now, in the way the industry plays, some products are available with what they call the free open source versions, but then you would pay for additional support or you would pay for additional features, right? So we have that kind of thing happening. Why should we consider free open source software? So I'm very glad that the minister referred to FOSS in her speech, and I would love to get a copy of that speech to share with the world, because I think it's the first time in the Caribbean that any minister responsible for technology has actually referred to free open source software as a resource. So I would like to thank the Minister for doing that. Last year, the Ministry of Public Telecommunications contracted me to do a draft policy for FOSS use in the public sector. Some of you might have heard, there were rumblings, quiet rumblings. I'm trying to get the information still. We had to pay $300 million to Microsoft for all the things, so we didn't need the figures are amazing. Millions of dollars had to be paid in licenses, which in my mind were unnecessary, for products which were unnecessary, right? They weren't critical products. Anyway, so in this draft policy is available, and this presentation is available for people later on with the links. But basically, so it's a draft policy for FOSS use in the public sector. And as I said, the policy itself is available for people to have a look at, to see how some of the considerations and so, especially for the public sector, some of the things which we'll have to go into, how the public sector considers free and open source software. I think the last thing I heard is that the NDME, Gov agency, has to do a special task force, special working group to implement this policy. I haven't heard anything more. So we should consider FOSS because we have to adhere to intellectual property rights. Don't steal software. Do not steal software. If you're stealing software, you're doing something wrong. We're living in a globalized world. If you want intellectual property to be recognized, do not develop. If you're going to be paid for work, do not use stolen software to do your work. Right? If you have to budget for work done and get paid, budget for the cost of the software if you have to pay for it or for whatever license. Don't use stolen software. Because it costs, so we have to adhere to intellectual property rights and avoid piracy. Many FOSS products are secure and they're very reliable and stable because of the way in which the community supports development. Because if there are patches, if there are problems, the community can get code, fix those problems very quickly and release patches. There's open standards used very often in many software. And you, as a user, can have independence from the vendor because you have the source code as well. And of course, there's a reduced reliance on imports. And you can reallocate the costs that you might pay on licenses where there's licensing. You can reallocate those costs to costs for learning. Because sometimes the learning curve for some of the free open source products is higher. But the point is you're left with the capacity to deal with, you don't have to be investing in licenses outside. And of course, localization is another consideration. How many of you use Linux here? Have you played around? So people here are using Linux. And we have Android phones, so Android, of course, is derived from Linux. So Linux is, of course, the most popular one, the most commonly known free open source software, free software. Free BSD is another operating system. And Linux, of course, comes in different distributions. For databases, you have MySQL, and Richard and I were talking just now about this. There's PostgreSQL, which is comparable with Oracle. Does UG use any of these? PostgreSQL or MySQL? Usually. Sorry? You're using MySQL, okay, right? And then there's MongoDB. And MongoDB is a little peculiar because they call it a free and open source product, but I couldn't figure out how it is. Does anyone play around MongoDB? Yeah? Okay, so that's a node SQL database. It's using JSON objects, blah, blah, blah. I will do K-Sharp and give you a tech presentation, right? Okay, so Apache web servers, I think Apache runs most of the world's web servers, internet, and probably don't even know it. This content management systems and web development, you have things like Drupal, WordPress. I think many of the government websites have been developed using WordPress, newspaper, there's Joomla, Django. For e-learning, there's Moodle. I think UG has a Moodle, uses Moodle for their online learning platform. The Trinidad and Tobago Computer Society, they developed, back in those days, it was a CD, then a DVD of open source for Windows. They have a list of products that you could play around with. to use on Windows, and that's the link to check it out. For multimedia, there's VLC. We use VLC, people use VLC, so that's free open source. So for graphics, there's GIMP, which is very easy to use, so you don't need to use Photoshop if you can't afford it. There's Inkscape as well, and Blender. Anybody here has used Blender for animation? Yeah? There you are. Y'all use Blender? You are using it right now, or? No, you don't use it. You're stealing the Adobe story. So I just have to bring you to this space again. Young Jimal Sam from Intellect Storm, who I've used twice already to be the advocate, because he came he's doing his animation using Blender, but Blender is free open source, right? And the other things are really expensive, right? The animation software is really expensive. So if you're going to be teaching and learning, you might be able to afford those tools. So you can learn on one tool, and then when you get your money, you're rich, you can buy the other tools, right? So for design, there are things like VRL CAD, and there is something called the FOSCAD community, and Blender as well as with the 3D modeling. And for productivity, there's something called LibreOffice, which I've been using OpenOffice since 2000 and something, 2003 or 4. Because we don't really use, and that can save a lot of money. And there are things like KOffice and AviWord. Now, so when Farnaz explained to me with the purpose of today, there are some other topics that are coming up today, and I just thought I'd talk about some of the free open source software that you use in some of those other themes. So for geographic information systems, there's something called QGIS. If you're going to get into geographic information systems, you might want to download QGIS to learn. And there's something called the OSGeo project, which has a set of other tools and map tools and so, which are free and open source. I mean, they're free in cost. And there's this OpenStreetMap project. If any of you are dealing with GIS, the OpenStreetMap project provides maps. And we know that there is in the Ministry of Natural Resources, there's data.gov project. And I think Weiss will be talking about nanotechnology later on. TomViz is software, free open source software, free in cost, that can be used for 3D modeling of nano data sets. It's very interesting for those who are going to play around with microchips and bacteria and all of those things that are tiny. For UAVs and drones, I think this will be the next one. Somebody else is going to be talking about drones later on. I mean, that's not emerging technology, that's very present and used. And some of you might have read this week about the Iraqi people using drones and GIS to highlight the problems in the South community. So that's something for all of us to learn from. So there's this interesting project called Drone Code. And if any of you are playing around with drones and so you want to learn, Drone Code is a collaboration between a lot of big industry players. And they have this platform governed under the Linux Foundation, on which you have projects for comms, for the flight code, for simulation, for ground control, for hardware, to develop APIs. It's very interesting, and if Farnaz hadn't asked me to do this presentation, I myself would have never known this, right? So I think, so for those of us who are getting into drones and understanding and evaluating, we should know that there are options available and there are conversations going on about open projects. This is just the LibreOffice interface. It comes with a spreadsheet. They write a document, presentation. You can do something like for drawing. There's even a database front end. So for artificial intelligence and machine learning, there's TensorFlow from Google. CAF, Apache Spark has the machine library learning, Mahout. And for big data, there's R. Is anybody here using R? Yes. Ms. Brady said she uses R, so that's for the statistical. When I heard Keisha use the word regression, I went into lockdown, bring back trauma, statistics, and so on. But R is used a lot for data manipulation by statisticians. And then there's Apache Hadoop and Sabo. All of these are free, also free as in money. And there's something called RapidMiner, which offers a platform, but that is, I don't think that is all free as in money. So there are all these different tools which are now available for us to learn and use. As we get into these new technologies, there is free open source software which allows us access to these technologies and which we shouldn't stay away from. So, any questions or comments, or did I talk stupidness? Yeah, I'll try with Linux if it's too hard. Only nerds use Linux. Richard, oh god, yeah, you know, only geeks. There's only a certain set of people know Linux. Well, no, there's Ubuntu desktop and all that now, which I'm having problems at the moment installing on my laptop. That's another story because of the lockdown. Microsoft as a company as well is investing in free open source software in its own way for some of its projects. So it's very interesting how some of this is going in. Any? Okay, so thank you very much. The presentation is available on staff buildings and check out.
Thank you, Mr. Kassoum, for your presentation. Now we're going to move on to the other presenter, Ms. Arrianna Mahase. She'll be presenting on robotics in education. And please don't feel right?
Good day, everyone. My name is Arrianna Mahase. And I will be presenting on robotics engineering as a prospective robotic and education as a prospective robotic engineer and educator. My focus is in how we can introduce robotics in the classroom. So robotics, other than making learning interesting and fun, we can also use it to teach various concepts in the classroom. One of those concepts is programming. Now, in the United States, they use robotics to teach programming to students as young as 8 years old. And I'm not speaking about languages such as C programming and Java, but basic Scratch programming that are easy to use for new students. There is one robot set that is called Dash and Dot, and this robot set actually helps students as young as 5 years old to program using their own tablets and phones, and it uses a software that was customized for this particular robot set. All the folks, such as engineers, like in the University of Null, School of Computer Science and Engineering, they use robotics to teach programming as well to engineers, which is like a key concept that engineers need. Besides teaching concepts in education that are difficult to teach or to learn by students, we also have robots being used to teach students that are medically challenged, and I'm sure most of us know about autism, and there are many students that are affected by autism. And so there are robots such as Casper. There are robots such as Casper that was developed to teach students with autism. And basically, this is a human-like robot that was developed with a small number of facial features that help students with autism to learn, to give them that opportunity of learning as any other student. Another robot that was developed is now. He has a lot of features, it senses that allows it to interact with students, such as thinking, speaking, feeling, and all those technologies. I have a short video on So that is now, and as you can see, it looks very child-friendly and easy to communicate with. There are many fields of robotics robotics if you want to get into it. These include designing, programming, building, and the electrical fields. And there are many universities if you want to study robotics as a specific field of study. You can study at Cornell University, University of Pennsylvania, Oregon State University. However, if you want to focus on a specific field of robotics, any of the fields that were listed before, you can do it at any tertiary institution. With that, how can robotics actually benefit Guyana? Education is actually the backbone of every sector. So if you target the education sector, you're basically targeting targeting every sector and developing Guyana as a whole. With that, I conclude. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Mahase. Now we're going to have a 10-minute break. And we're going to come back to do Ms. Newton's presentation.